Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest stop on this Ohio Innovation Tour. We're so excited to be here. My name is Chris Berry. I'm the president and CEO of OhioX. We're a statewide technology association, and our members include everything from Fortune 500 businesses to startups to small and medium-sized companies, universities, research centers, and more. But every group within our organization is passionate about the acceleration of Ohio's tech and innovation sector. And today we have a fascinating conversation with a bunch of leaders from across the state, but also on one of the most foremost topics that we are hearing about in all of our work, and that's artificial intelligence. As part of this tour, this is a tour that we've been doing with stops, virtual stops around the state. We've been examining things like Intel and the semiconductor industry coming to Ohio. And again, this one is a big one that we are really excited about. As we go, we have a fantastic lineup of guest speakers that we will be welcoming them to the virtual stage. And so as we go through those, you'll hear some fantastic presentations. If you have questions, feel free to put those in the chat, and I will go in there as soon as I hand off the mic and introduce myself. We'd very much welcome you to do so as well. I'm going to start, and then I'm going to turn it over to our partners on this tour, the Ohio Innovation Exchange. Jeff Agnoli from the Ohio Innovation Exchange will give an overview and share a demo of their work and what they are doing with universities across Ohio. Then we're going to hear from the AI Edge Institute, an NSF-funded research program. We'll hear on some talent and workforce development strategies for business and industry. And then at the end, as I mentioned, we'll cultivate all of our questions and open it up with our remaining time for Q&A with our experts that we have at the table. But this conversation on AI, I'm very much looking forward to it. Before we start, I want to share a few links, which again, I will also be sharing this within the chat function as soon as I stop talking. But the first is our partners on this, the Ohio Innovation Exchange. ohioinnovationexchange.org. Ours is ohiox.org. Feel free to check us out, check them out. And in that Q&A, you can share your name, your organization, and your city in the chat. We'll have Q&A comments there. And feel free to keep that as a running conversation since we do have people across Ohio and beyond here. So hopefully you can meet someone new. And then if there are any specific topics or whatnot that really strike your interest, feel free to recommend any future things and future webinars with us. And so I'm excited to welcome to the stage Jeff. And Jeff, thank you so much for all of your work on this tour that we've gotten to do. We've had a ton of fascinating conversations, and I'm very much looking forward to this one.
Thank you so much, Chris, and for doing an excellent job of welcoming everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, I guess, for most of us. I'm just going to take a couple minutes and introduce you to the Ohio Innovation Exchange. This is a statewide resource funded by the Ohio Department of Higher Education. Our goal, essentially, is to make the resources of higher education more transparent, more accessible for everyone. We have three main buckets of data that we're curating. Our first and probably the most used is our experts, faculty experts from across 10 or 11 universities. And I'll show you in a minute how you can search and filter by that. We also catalog equipment data across, this is research, instrumentation, centers, institute, and one of the new categories that we're beginning to curate is industry certification programs that universities offer. And then the last set is patent data or intellectual property that's licensable. The way that data is curated is across every university in the state of Ohio. And it basically is the last 10 years of patents that have been filed. And you can search and filter on all kinds of criteria. Just to kick off this demonstration, I want to show you this quick contact us form. If you're not able to find what you want in the Innovation Exchange, or you just want to reach out in a concierge way, you can fill out this very quick form where you have check a box of what you're looking for, indicate the campus or leave it blank. Fill in your contact information, and we'll get back to you in 1 or 2 days from across our campus network of liaisons. To give you an idea how the experts work, you can click browse, or you can type in the name of a faculty expert, either their name or a particular industry term, discipline. On the left-hand side, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. You can limit it by institution. So today we're featuring the University of Ohio State, but also University of Cincinnati. And by clicking on that, I'm looking at just the faculty from that institution. I can then further refine it by, let's say, computer science. That's sort of our topic. And then what comes down are the faculty that are affiliated with that particular area. Sometimes this resets, you have to kind of navigate. You can pull up an individual faculty member's profile, many useful information on their profile, including their email address, their collaboration network, sort of who they work with, and you can navigate from that image. You can also see their sort of bio. This, by the way, the search engine looks across their bio. So if you're looking for someone here, artificial intelligence, machine learning shows up, you would be able to find her pretty quickly. And then on the bottom are the keywords or tags that most closely match with publications. We curate all her scholarly works. In many cases, if it's public access, you can actually click the link and view the article. In this case, here's an article from just a couple of months ago, well, August 2023. And then the last bucket of data for faculty are their grants data. These links will take you to the sponsor's website, where you can see a summary of the project, the abstract, but it gives you a real insight into what that researcher is working on, and then you can reach out to them directly or through our concierge service. The next thing, I'm going to just walk you back to the logo on the top left there. Our equipment data is right now over 2,500 records from across multiple institutions. You can see here on the left-hand side, equipment is the bulk of the information. So that's like instrumentation, but it also includes things like research services. So if your company wants to partner with a university, we're here to facilitate that. If you want to see the centers and institutes that exist at each campus and how to access those, it's here and so on. And like I said, we're adding very soon a setting that will identify corporate or institutional industry certifications. The last bucket is patent data. I'm going to go ahead and click on Browse Patents. And I actually tested this, Chris, before we started today so that I could be confident. But if we put the phrase artificial intelligence to see what our university scholars have generated, at any given time in the system, it's going to be different, right? Because we're filing patents all the time. But right now there's 391 patents. They can be filtered by institution here on the left-hand side. So we'll go ahead and choose University of Cincinnati, since we're kind of talking about them a little bit. And what you're seeing are the current list of licensable IP. You can click on any of these links and see the full detail of the patent. You can also Twitter about it, tweet about it, email, or link into it. And then, of course, here's an abstract, the names of the inventors. If there's any other collaborators that were part of that invention, they'll be listed here. So often down in Cincinnati, P&G is listed because they're partnering on lots of kinds of things. This is just this data set, and I just want to kind of go back to the home page. This data set is really unique. There are very few, if any, that parallel what the state of Ohio is doing. And we're fortunate to have the Ohio Department of Higher Education as a backer on this, and a participation from 10, 11, 12 universities. Very soon, we'll be adding data from Kent State University and scholars up at Youngstown State. And there's some others that are kind of waiting in the wings, and we hope they will step up. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. Thanks so much for letting me take a couple minutes to do that. Turn it back to Chris, who's going to introduce our next speaker.
Thanks, Jeff. Fascinating platform. Just wanted to quickly mention the chat. Thank you to everyone for jumping in there. Seeing a ton of friends and familiar names from Columbus and Athens and Cincinnati, Cleveland, and beyond. So again, feel free to put questions, comments. If you want to share your LinkedIn or anything like that, that is a great place to do it. We'll continue to monitor it. And at the end, we'll collect as many questions as possible that you can put in there, or you can send directly to me if you'd like, and we'll do a Q&A at the end. But next up, I'd love to welcome Doug Faber to our virtual stage and panel from Ohio State University. He's going to discuss the AI Edge Institute and some of the work that they are doing at the Ohio State University. So Doug, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Go ahead and share my slides here.
Great. We can see them.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and put this in the slideshow mode. Okay, great. Well, as Chris mentioned, I'm Doug Faber. I'm Managing Director of the AI Edge Institute, which is a research institute for artificial intelligence and communication networks. My background is in planning, building, and managing communication networks and networking products. And happy to be here to about our institute. Last month, Director of the Science Foundation discussed the community.
I'm guessing, Chris. that-
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
froze.
think Doug may have froze a little bit, which I'm guessing he's jumping out and then going to hop back in. Not to put you on the spot, John, but would you perhaps jumping in and then we can go back to Doug as soon as he's able to join?
Sure thing, Chris.
Thanks, John, and feel free to share your screen and then we can work with Doug to get some of the tech issues resolved and look forward to hearing from him in just a moment.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. John Sherwood, the Director of Talent Strategy at Jobs Ohio. Jobs Ohio, we pride ourselves on being an agile organization that's ready to jump in and assist with at any point, including when there's tech issues on webinars. But in all reality, Jobs Ohio is a 12-year-old organization that is the state's private economic development corporation. Started in 2011 as a private nonprofit 501c4. We are responsible for the economic development function for the state of Ohio, and we cover all 88 counties in that operation. When I say economic development, I mean a couple of different things. The line of business that maybe gets the most press is business attraction. So we're working across the nation and really across the globe to talk to companies in the private sector about the advantages that exist in doing business here in the state of Ohio and helping to bring their investments and their job creation to our state. The bulk of our business as an economic development organization is actually around business retention and expansion. So the broad variety of businesses that currently exist in the state of Ohio, we do what we can to help make sure that any additional investment from those businesses is happening in the state of Ohio and it's creating jobs in the state of Ohio, and that those businesses are able to continue to be sustained, thrive, and grow here in the state to the benefits of not only the private sector, but the individuals that are able to obtain those jobs and thrive in that manner. Jobs Ohio, like I mentioned, 12-year-old organization, unique model. Something that makes us really unique is that we have a private, stable funding source. I'll go into that a little deeper in just a second. But an advantage that the state of Ohio has is that our funding source is long-term and not dictated by 2-year state budget cycles or ebbs and flows of funding from the federal government, which allows Ohio to make efficient, effective, long-term investments for the benefit of economic development. We have a really seasoned and experienced staff and the benefit of working closely with 6 regional partners that help us succeed in the local game that really is economic development. Fun thing to mention, and it's something that folks don't often know about Jobs Ohio, is that our funding source comes from the state's hard liquor business. While it's not tax funding, the tax from hard liquor in the state of Ohio goes back to the Department of Commerce in the state of Ohio. Jobs Ohio does take the profits from the hard liquor business and uses that to invest in job creation and economic development functions here in the state of Ohio. COVID was good for that business, and it put Jobs Ohio in a really advantageous environment when government, state sales tax revenue, federal funding was really uncertain. And so an industry such as liquor, which is really recession proof, gives Ohio a steady, predictable stream of funding to continue to invest in economic development and oftentimes play offense when other states or other countries even are playing defense. Jobs Ohio, as I mentioned, is responsible for economic development in 10 specific industries. And so Jobs Ohio kind of has purview of approximately a third of the state's economy. We focus in on the tradable sectors within Ohio's economy. So think about things when products or services can be traded across state lines. You'll see those 9 private sector industries represented here, as well as military and federal installations, which brings lots of money, lots of jobs, lots of opportunity into the state of Ohio with things like NASA-Glenn in the Cleveland area, as well as Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the Dayton area. Since Jobs Ohio was founded in 2011, our 10 sectors have grown nearly 16%. As I mentioned before, while Jobs Ohio has an 88 county purview, we would not be successful without deep and effective partnerships at the regional and the local level. And so we partner closely with each of these 6 network partners that cover all the counties. And we work with them, whether it be on economic development projects, whether it be on solving some business retention issues, or on talent and workforce that I'll touch on in a couple deeper slides. To talk more specifically, and I know the topic for today is around artificial intelligence. My comments are going to be light on technical pieces of artificial intelligence and really just trying to set the context and the pretext that in a knowledge-driven economy, and I truly believe that we are in a knowledge-driven economy, even when we talk about the manufacture of physical goods, talent is the #1 factor in most circumstances for economic development. To further iterate on that, I want to point out a couple stats from the 2022 Site Selectors Guild report. Site Selectors Guild is essentially a group of consultants that help companies with site selection and are very knowledgeable about the economic development field. In the 2022 survey, which is the most recent one to come out, workforce availability was ranked as the #1 factor with the greatest impact on site selection for both office, so like tech type projects, insurance, financial services, as well as industrial projects. For industrial projects, think manufacturing, warehousing, distribution. 78% of those site selectors who responded to the survey listed talent as the top concern. And for reference, only 25% of those respondents listed incentives as a top concern. So when we talk about economic development, things like tax abatements, things like grants and low interest loans often are the first topics to come up. But this survey proves that for both industrial projects as well as office projects, the ability to find, retain, and get the most out of talent is more important than any other factor. In Ohio, we really come at the talent equation from a position of strength. And so I know Intel was mentioned potentially earlier in the conversation here. One of the factors that certainly helped the state to land Intel was our deep network of workforce and higher education systems that produce top talent and can support companies either in the tech, manufacturing, or many other industries. A couple stats that I'll point out here is that Ohio is the 7th most populous state in the country, and we continue to gain young professionals, those Gen Z, Gen X generations that are fueling growth of the economy. Ohio continues to grow in that standpoint. In our labor productivity, if you look at, the relationship between labor and gross state product, Ohio is #1 in the 7th state Midwest region, and that's been true since 2013. I'll also point out that in Ohio, we benefit from a really advantageous cost of living. So across the entire nation, Ohio is ranked as the 7th best cost of living. And if we look at the 17 states in which Ohio competes most often in economic development, which includes other Midwest states, as well as some of those southern states like Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, the Carolinas, we are 4th in terms of cost of living. And so that's really attractive when we're talking about bringing talent into the state or making the case for top talent to be retained here to contribute to the advancement of industries such as artificial intelligence. Mentioned before, but Ohio has a really robust higher education system, and excited to partner with both the Innovation Exchange, which is connected to the Department of Higher Education, as well as some of our outstanding four-year universities in Ohio State and University of Cincinnati here on this webinar today. The last slide that I'll have, that I'll leave you with, and I think this sets up the rest of the conversation well, is when Jobs Ohio thinks about what do we need to do as an economic development organization and as a state to continue to win in economic development, is really investing in the production, retention, attraction of talent, and specifically in these 6 domains that you see here, which includes key functions that are going to drive artificial intelligence advancement. So computer and technology, things like software developers, things like folks that are going to maintain the networks and the technology infrastructure that can enable artificial intelligence, and then as well as kind of the business research, data analytics that drive that function as well. I'll also just mention that Ohio really is leading the manufacturing kind of renaissance that's taking place across the nation right now. It's been indicated by some of our previous wins in economic development, but we have to continue to invest in the workforce that's going to fuel manufacturing, whether that manufacturing is electric vehicles, semiconductors, food, green technology, green energy technology. So things like engineering, installation, maintenance, and production, investing in those areas are going to be essential for continued economic development wins. That's all I have. I'll turn it back to you, Chris.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate that, and a lot of fascinating insights and data for sure. And I agree that did very much set up the rest of the conversation very well. And so Doug would like to welcome you back to the virtual stage, and we'll love to hear more about some of the work that you're doing at Ohio State.
Okay, great. Thank you. And apologies for the earlier networking problems. So I was in the process here of discussing the objectives of the AI Edge Institute. And I mentioned one of our prime objectives is to leverage AI to make edge networks more resilient, responsive, and secure. And since my network dropped off, I think that's a perfect example of what we're trying to do here is prevent those kinds of things from happening. In addition to that, we have objectives to develop technology to enable networks to better support future generations of AI applications, including distributed AI applications. We're also interested in developing AI and networking talent for the workforce and helping the U.S. to establish leadership in AI and wireless edge networks. The team includes leading U.S. research universities as well as government agencies and industry partners. The Institute's an ecosystem of academic, government, and industry researchers. And we've done this basically to help accelerate technology transfer and to create internship opportunities for graduate students and postdoctoral researchers of the Institute. The faculty researchers are leading researchers in AI and networking from 11 different U.S. research universities, including Ohio State University, Michigan, Wisconsin, Carnegie Mellon, and others that you see here. The Institute's led by the Ohio State University, and Institute Director is Professor Nesh Shroff of Ohio State. Our partners also include a number of government agency partners and industry partners, which I'll discuss later. Researchers of the Institute have deep experience in a wide range of networking and AI subjects. And that includes experience in both foundational research to advance the state of networking and AI technology, as well as applied research to help integrate new developments into products and services. It consists of 28 different faculty members from these 11 universities and over 40 40 graduate students and postdoc researchers, 12 industry and government partners. Half of the graduate students and postdocs of the Institute are based here in Ohio. This is a high-level look at service provider wireless network, and effectively a wireless user connects to a base station of what's called a radio access network, or RAN, and these RANs are shown at the right and left sides of this diagram. And from there, they connect on to a number of different network components across a mobile core, and if necessary, across a regional or global core network in order to connect to another end user or to a network-based service. Now, the focus of AI Edge is on the edge portion of the because the intelligence in the network resides at the edge of the network, and because it's expected that most future investments will be made in the edge of the network. These edge networks are used for a wide variety of applications, including robotics, control of aerial drones, autonomous vehicles, Internet of Things, and other applications as well. And the network components are supported and managed distributed layer of software applications for things like resource allocation, fault recovery, network management, and other applications. And many of these applications can actually be enhanced through the integration of AI. The research plan of the Institute is organized around 8 thrusts that are in 2 broad research areas. So 4 thrusts for each research area. The first is what we call AI for networks. And this is about finding ways to leverage AI to make edge networks more resilient, responsive, and secure. And thrusts 1 through 4 are associated with that research area. The second area is what we call networks for AI. And that area is focused on development of technology to enable networks to better support future AI applications, including distributed AI applications. And research thrusts 5 through 8 are associated with this second research area. In the interest of time, I won't go into the details of each of these research thrusts. The research plan also includes 3 use cases to basically help ensure that the foundational research of the Institute is connected to real-world problems and to help accelerate technology transfer as well. Use case number 1 is focused on sensing and re-engineering of a wireless network environment. Use case number 2 is built around extreme mobility applications where both machines, humans, and in some cases, network elements could all be in motion at the same time. And use case number 3 looks at automated edge networks leveraging artificial intelligence. We're working with a number of different industry and government agency partners on each of these use cases. The research of the Institute has synergies with a wide range of different industry and government applications, including things like smart manufacturing, AI-based network security, AI-based sensing and re-engineering of an environment, AI-based resource allocation and decision-making, as well as safety management. And we have a number of different active research projects, several industry partners, including IBM, AT&T, Cisco, Nexcepta, and others. Research areas include
Jeff, I think we may have accidentally dropped Doug again.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe Sastry wanted
Yeah.
to.
Yep,
jump
Sastry,
in.
if you want to hop in and share your part from this, and if Doug's able to join, then we can invite him back up in a moment. And I think you'll have to unmute Sastry.
Sorry, yeah, give me just a second. My slides were supposed to be were with Doug, so I need to pull them. Give me 1 second.
Sure, no problem.
I was lazy not to keep a copy open, but I should be able to pull them up really quickly.
And as Sastry is pulling up his slides, again, thanks everyone for hopping in the chat, introducing, dropping your LinkedIn links and all of that. I've been collecting some questions, both that have been in the chat and a few that have been DM'd to me. And as a reminder, at the very end of the conversation, once all of our panelists present, we'll open it up for some Q&A. So another kind of call that you're welcome to send it directly to me or put it in the chat whenever you have an opportunity.
It looks like Doug has connected again, so that's good. Welcome back, sir.
Oh, should we wait for him?
Go ahead and unmute. Maybe, Doug, I don't know if you want to turn off your camera. I don't know if the network stuff, if that helps, or if that's just.
I can. I'll turn on my camera to maybe save some bandwidth there, Jeff.
Okay. See, I know a little bit about networks.
Would you like me to share my screen once again?
Yeah, that'd be great. Go ahead and finish
great.
up. Sastry was ready to jump in, but we were.
Yes, I was just in the process of introducing Sastry Kompella, Chief Scientist at
Perfect timing.
Nexcepta, to talk a little bit about Nexcepta's work with AI Edge. Take it away.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Doug. So if we can move to the next slide. Just wanted to briefly introduce the company to provide an overview of how we fit into the ecosystem of the AI Edge Institute. Nexcepta is a small business, advanced R&D firm providing cutting-edge technical solutions, mission-critical capabilities, market-focused commercial products, and customized R&D and engineering services to federal customers, including DoD. A little bit of background, I come from the DoD world. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. We offer a broad portfolio of interdisciplinary solutions in next-G communications, tactical networks, cognitive radio, spectrum management, cybersecurity. Some of the things that Doug had put up, just about a few seconds ago in talking about the core areas of research within the AI Edge Institute as well. So there is a good amount of synergy there. While our work is classified as R&D, we are also interested in technology transitions to our sponsors, mostly on the DoD side and on the commercial side as well. If we can move to the next slide, Doug. Our core technology areas of network systems, next-G comms, cybersecurity. For those of you who understand these areas, AI/ML has pretty much become a glue now that kind of connects all of these things together these days. And this is true for defense applications, just as it is true for commercial applications. You hear a lot about AI, penetration of AI on the commercial side, but DoD has been one of the biggest benefactors of AI technologies as well, and that is where we come in. Next slide, please. As Doug mentioned, we are one of the industry partners associated with the AI Edge Institute. Most of these areas that I show here that we are interested in are actually active research areas within the institute. So we have a very sort of a symbiotic relationship with the institute in that regard. We naturally benefit from all the cutting edge research that is happening in each of these areas in the form of research publications, conference proceedings, journal publications, and more importantly, software, open source software that is provided by the institute. Most of these services are, free of cost. Anybody can join them and take advantage of them. So that is actually a terrific, service that an institute like the AI Edge Institute provides. So, definitely everybody should take advantage of that. On top of it, we contribute to the institute in the following ways. In addition to being contributing to the general direction of the institute, I am actually a member of the AI Edge Reference Architecture Working Group. that is looking at adopting AI/ML models for optimal management and control of networks. So we are specifically interested in developing a reference architecture that incorporates an intelligence plane to allow the existing networks to appropriately support and leverage AI/ML, and vice versa, AI to leverage the network plane as well. So additionally, you would have noticed Doug mentioned that there are a lot of government partners. So if you recall seeing ARL, which is Army Research Laboratory, NRL, Naval Research Laboratory, and AFRL, Air Force Research Laboratory, being part of the members within the AI Edge Institute. I happen to be a researcher and a section head at the Naval Research Laboratory until recently, before co-founding Nexcepta. So I was actually one of the members who helped with some of the creational aspects of the AI Edge Institute in a little way myself, along with Professor Neshroff. So I'm pretty excited about that. But these DoD scientists, they are interested in the institute for obvious reasons. So my prior experience as a DoD researcher gives me the advantage of coming up with DoD unique problems to discuss with the researchers. And they're pretty excited to talk to us about these kind of things. And mainly because these are often different in flavor from commercial applications. So all in all, it has been a great experience partnering with the AI Institute. And I would recommend small businesses out there, especially in R&D, to take advantage of the wealth of knowledge that the Institute provides and contribute to that in a similar way. So that is my 2 cents, and I'm happy to hand it back to Jeff. And
well, thank you so much, Sastry. Really appreciate you joining us and giving us an industry side to the work that Ohio State is doing. And so would now love to welcome up to the virtual stage from the Ohio Supercomputer Center, Karen Tomko, who will be giving an overview and presentation of their work. So Karen, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Terrific. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to have this opportunity to speak to you all. And I'm going to talk to you about a workforce development effort that I've been lead on at OSC. It's called an AI bootcamp for cyber infrastructure professionals. I'll tell you how we use that term, cyber infrastructure professionals, in a moment. Just a little bit about me. I work at the Ohio Supercomputer Center. I lead a group that manages the software on our clusters and also collaborates with researchers on development projects. If you're not familiar with the Ohio Supercomputer Center, we provide research computing, large-scale research computing to higher ed institutions in the state of Ohio. And some of our services are listed there, from compute, large-scale storage, software services, and training to use those services. Now, about the boot camp, over the last several years, we were observing a growth in AI workload from the research community, and we wanted to be prepared to support that workload. So we wrote a proposal to NSF, a training program at NSF, to get some funds to do a pilot training activity, which we was awarded. We wrote the proposal in 21, was awarded that September, and we're nearing the end of that 2-year effort. The team we put together to do this consisted of 3 staff, myself, and 2 others at OSC, and 5 faculty members from computer science and engineering at Ohio State. And the focus was on training the cyber infrastructure professionals that work in research computing facilities, not just ourselves, but around the country. So, sorry, I didn't put this into, this into. So what is a cyber infrastructure professional? I think the easiest way to think of it is we are research IT. How are we different from centralized IT? It's mostly in that we do very large scale, kind of heavy duty computing. And we have a lot of variety because research spans all disciplines, particularly as we add in data analytics and AI. We have clients from arts through the traditional sciences and engineering using our facilities. And so we wanted to, you can think of it as an upskilling of our staff at research computing facilities to support this new workload that we're seeing. Most of our employees have come either out of computer science a few years ago, but before AI was as predominant, or from the sciences, the traditional computational sciences, engineering, physics, chemistry. And so we want to address those staff, bring them up to speed in AI. And in particular, we're looking at kind of two types of things: literacy, so that they can converse with the researchers, understand a little bit about the types of models that are going to be run, and then some practical experience on the software and tools that are used. And how do we scale? So when people come to us, they come to us because what they're doing is no longer working on their lab systems or their laptops and desktops. So how do we help them run where they need to use more GPU resources, or they need to run because they have more data, or they have larger models they need to run. So those are the topics that we focus on. Then we wanted to make it easy to attend this workshop, so it'd be accessible to the widest number of people across the country that have this role. We proposed this in January 21, so making it virtual was a natural thing to do at that time anyway, but it also met this goal of making it widely available. So we did these boot camps as virtual sessions. We would meet twice a week for 2 hours over several weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the boot camp session. I'll talk a little bit more about the sessions. And we kept the homework light because these are busy professionals. We didn't want to give them extra work outside of these hours, but we did make an effort to have hands-on activities so they could get experience with the software in all of our sessions. And then because this is an NSF-funded pilot, we didn't have a registration fee, so people could just sign up and show up. For the good and bad, a free virtual training event means you have a fair amount of attrition, but we still had a lot of attendees and a lot of interest. We developed 2 tracks. You can think of them as an intro tract and an intermediate tract. The initial sort of focused across the spectrum of people who work in our field, from frontline user support to sysadmins to even management, who need to understand AI better to make their decisions. And then what I would refer to as an intermediate track, where we just dive a little bit more into the scaling and some of the software packages and troubleshooting. Topics are here. I'm not going to go through them, but they'll be in the slide deck. Kind of the areas, some of the Python packages that are pretty common in this area, the basics of ML modeling and neural nets and deep learning, some of the frameworks, particularly if you're scaling up, and lots on how to parallelize and run larger models, and then the additional tools for debugging and managing your model. And then a little bit also, an overview on HPC technologies, of course, because that's our thing. So a session on the current chips out there, on AI accelerators. So we think it went pretty well. In summary, we had 4 sessions, two of the core and 2 of the intermediate follow-on session. We had a lot of interest when we first advertised this to our community, just kind of informally on a couple mailing lists. The first boot camp, which we were thinking to keep small, because we were doing it for the first time and learning. We had over 100 people sign up in the first 48 hours. And we decided to actually limit participation in that one. We invited about 60 of those, the first 60 who signed up to attend that first one. Second time we offered that, we just left it open. Everyone who signed up by a particular date we let in, and we had over 100 signups. So overall, we started these sessions with about 200 attendees. Again, virtual sessions, free. There was attrition, so I would say probably for about half of that number participated in the core session, and then we had smaller groups for the intermediate session as expected. Overwhelmingly, very positive response. We surveyed a lot because we were trying to get feedback. And the surveys were, we would ask them, they range from, how do you feel about supporting AI research on your system? And so we did a little survey about that. Do you feel, more about, how comfortable they are in their work with AI. And then we had surveys more specific to the content as well. And of course, we asked them to get some nice feedback of, was this worthwhile to you? And I put a couple quotes there, and feel like it met the goal we're going for. We want to have this group of professionals, sort of ready to support this community. We're not trying to be the AI experts. We're trying to support the AI experts. So that was the focus. And I think that's sort of my point, is we developed a training activity with, and we thought a lot about what was the need for this community, and tried to tailor it both in delivery and content. And of course, it wouldn't have been possible without the terrific faculty who gave our lectures and developed the exercises. So you can learn a little more about this, and the slides can be shared. Reach out to me. Chase Eister is also, I see, on here, and he's out and about in the community a lot, so he can field your questions or direct them to me as appropriate. And I will stop sharing and turn it over to the next speaker.
Welcome. Well, thank you so much, Karen. Really appreciate that. And fascinating overview. And I would agree, your colleague Chase, we get to see him at a lot of stuff out in the community. And so we love connecting with him and learning about what the Ohio Supercomputer Center is up to. So thank you so much for that. And so as our final presentation and panelist is Michael Sharp from the University of Cincinnati. So Michael, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And we're looking very much forward to hearing what is happening on the campus of UC. So thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for inviting me to this. It's very exciting to hear what's going on. Most of this I didn't know about, so I'm going to be following up with some of the other panelists here so I can learn a little bit more. So this is Michael Sharp. I'm a faculty member at the University of Cincinnati. I'm also the director of UC's Service Learning Program. Having been doing that about 15 years, and as of this summer, recently my team has adopted Service Learning Co-op and the on-campus co-op program. So what I want to cover here today is a little bit of context around the college. It supports those 3 programs and some others at UC, including the one that I'm most intimately familiar with, Service Learning, but also President Pinto's Co-op 2.0 program, which includes, again, both Service Learning Co-op and on-campus co-op. Just a little backstory here. Since I came to UC full-time employee in 2008, and before that as a student, I came as a freshman in 1993 and basically never left. The what's called now the College of Cooperative Education and Professional Studies has gone through several name changes. Very early on, it was professional practice. It was co-op only, co-op for engineers, co-op for DAP, that's design, art, architecture, and planning, and then co-op for the Lindner College of Business. And then what started to happen is the provost office started adding experiential learning programs to that portfolio, the first new addition being service learning. So you'll see the name changes. We went from professional practice to Propel to ELSI, and now we are formally the College of Cooperative Education and Professional Studies. What you see here on the left side of the screen are the different ways that UC does experiential learning. And the ones with the stars on them are those programs that are specifically supported out of the college, CCPS, Cooperative Education and Professional Studies, namely mandatory co-op, that's the 100-year-old traditional program, engineering, DAP, and business. But we also support service learning, internships, undergraduate research, a program we call UC Forward, international experiential learning, and peer education as well. So the first thing I want to talk just a little bit about is the one I'm most intimately familiar with, which is service learning. What you'll see here is a very academic sounding definition of what UC calls service learning. It's because a bunch of academics came up with it. But in a nutshell, all service learning is a way to teach and learn, where students in courses are given the opportunity to apply what they're learning to the service of others. And so an example that I give often is, if you can imagine a web design course, there's lots of those courses taught at UC. And to make it a service learning version of that course, the content that the students are learning and the theories that they're learning in that class, they can, for example, partner with the Free Store Food Bank or another nonprofit organization that may have web design needs. And so the students get hands-on experience, get to add something to their resume and do something of value for the community. This number of 3832 over here, it's a little bit dated. That's a couple of years old. And what you'll see here in the white box is our recent counts. It's the most service learning that we've ever done, at least since I've been around. Right around 6,000 students a year, taking about 350 service learning courses taught by about 200 or so service learning faculty. It's happening in every one of our undergraduate colleges, is also happening in some of our professional programs, graduate schools as well. This next slide here, I like to share often. It's a study that UC did, I think, in 2016, 2017, but I think it speaks to the importance of not only service learning, but experiential education. And you'll notice here what I've highlighted in black, close to 80% of our students want some sort of experience that they can apply what they're learning to that experience, and it's for obvious reasons. What the research shows is that when students are able to learn something experientially, they retain that information longer because they see different contexts for how it's applied. And then I think what may be unique to Gen Z here is that more and more of our graduates not only want to graduate with a really good degree and make a lot of money, but they want that career to be such that it's impacting the world in significant ways. And that's maybe a little bit different from Gen X, that's the generation I'm from. And so I think that sets the table for why experiential learning, and maybe specifically service learning, matters. So remember, I talked about Co-op 1.0. That's the 100-plus-year-old program. It's for 3 of our colleges only, but UC has a lot more colleges than those 3. And so President Pinto sort of acknowledged that a lot of students were showing up to UC expecting the co-op experience, a paid experience, working full-time, coming back to courses full-time, working another semester full-time, but it's not for all of the students. And so President Pinto launched an initiative called Co-op 2.0, which specifically is aimed to give the co-op experience to students that are not already being served through mandatory co-op. So if you're not an engineer, you're not in the College of DAP, you're not in the College of Business, you can still get the co-op experience, which is paid, meaningful employment, either off campus or on. And that's the 2 programs I'm going to talk about now. The service learning co-op program borrows obviously heavily from co-op, but it also borrows the ethos of service learning. This program is designed for any student that wants to work off campus in a nonprofit setting. They can work 80-hour project up to full-time, 40 hours a week. And the good news for our partners is that we have the funding to be able to pay those students. We've been really fortunate to attract right around $1.5 million from external funders to offset that obstacle. A lot of nonprofits want to hire students, but they don't have the capacity or the resources to be able to do that. And so we've been able to attract some dollars to remove that obstacle. The sister program, the Service Learning Co-op, is on-campus co-op. Very, very similar. The real fundamental difference being that students are working on campus as opposed to off. So students can do things like work for UC Athletics or university libraries or the College of Music and get really high impact experiences, building their resume, expanding their professional network, adding to their professional portfolio. So between Service Learning Co-op and on-campus co-op, we are trying to round out and get really good at this co-op 2.0 model so that every student that graduates from UC will not only have had experiential learning opportunities through programs like undergraduate research and traditional service learning, but paid experiences as well. All of this, whether service learning co-op, on-campus co-op, it's all an outflowing of President Pinto's Next Lives Here initiative. We're really happy with where we are. We know we got a lot of work to do. Just in the last year, the team has grown significantly. We are now a college as opposed to a division. And so we are super excited to see where we're going to be going next year and into the future. Thank you very much for letting me join today. And I'll turn it back over to the hosts here.
Thank you so much, Michael. Really fascinating conversation and work happening at the University of Cincinnati. And so, Jeff, we'll open it up for a few questions as we have a bit of time left. And actually, the first one, I think, will go to you. It's from our friends at University Hospitals Ventures, Neil Wyatt up in Cleveland. But it's around, does the Ohio Innovation Exchange include data from academic medical centers? And maybe a second kind of question for me is, as the Innovation Exchange continues to grow, what does that look like in the next few years, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. We partner up in Cleveland. We partner with Case Western Reserve and a bunch of other schools in that area. And so, if faculty members have appointments on the academic campus, they would be profiled in the Innovation Exchange. One of our long-term visions was to not just profile faculty members, but also to profile industries. And we've been exploring ways to do that. One way is to use artificial intelligence as a tool to kind of generate some matchmaking. So if a faculty member's research interests are XYZ and a company has similar, we'd be able to match that together and introduce the two. So I see that in the future. There's no official roadmap, but it's definitely something we're talking about.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. And actually, I'll combine two because they're kind of along the same lines. From two friends, one in Youngstown, one in Cincinnati, Keith from Interalliance and Marvin from Oh Wow in Youngstown. And maybe John will kind of perhaps put it to you first, but then others, maybe the Ohio Supercomputer Center could hop in as well. But what about any value for K through 12 education entities to add value with this emerging AI technologies, industry partnerships to really build out the tech talent pipeline we've heard a lot about from higher education. But could anyone speak to more of the K through 12 for high school students or even younger?
Yeah, I can take a first stab, Chris. I think those are really good questions. And I think the folks that are on this webinar here today are really taking the first step. And it's really about empowering those influencers, those teachers, administrators, guidance counselors, even parents with the information to be able to meaningfully connect with those K-12 students about what are those future opportunities, and using fun, exciting, advancing technologies like artificial intelligence as the hook that then gets those young people interested in building those foundational skills, be it in programming, be it in networking, those types of maybe not as fun, not as exciting, not as sexy right now, things that are necessary to be able to work in these fields. So absolutely, any way we can get young people interested in these types of fields and on a route to contributing to the economy is a positive thing from my standpoint.
Perfect. Thank you, John. Karen, looks like you unmuted.
Yeah, we have the Ohio Supercomputer Center has a range of K-12 activities we do. One of those recent activities is a 2-week camp for high school students, and we had a machine learning project there for the students to work on. So we also do a young women's camp for middle school aged young women. And we do outreach events like COSI. We're going to do an event at the state fair. So we do reach out a fair amount.
Jeff, any from your side before we start to wrap up?
No, that's okay. You can keep going. Yep.
Okay. John, another one from you that someone sent to me. But you mentioned talent in your presentation is the #1 factor for economic development and choices. And then you also mentioned, looks like something on young professionals at 20 to 34. Do you have any kind of additional data to kind of talk about that specifically of, are they certain college degrees or just a little bit more on kind of, it looks like that young professional side of the economic development growth?
I don't know by way of data that I have off the top of my head, but I will say that in the economic development sphere, when companies are looking at an area, so imagine it's a company from Asia or Europe that's looking to locate in the United States, and they're choosing between Ohio and Michigan and Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Pretty common occurrence for us. The types of things that they're asking are really centered around, am I going to be able to find the talent that I need that's going to help my business grow and thrive? And am I going to be able to do that in a really sustainable way that's going to allow my company to be profitable in this location for the next 30, 40 years? And so part of that is understanding is the kind of rhetoric around aging population in the Midwest, the whole story. And we as economic developers in this area have to address that and ensure companies that we do have a lot of bright young people. They are going to school here. They are staying around the state and going to work for Ohio businesses. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing and pulling specific data on a project by project basis.
Great. Well, thank you, John. Appreciate that. And I think now that we're a few minutes over 1 p.m. Past our stop time, we'll wrap up here. And Jeff, I'll give you the final word. But from our end, just want to thank everyone for joining us. I know Jeff has mentioned in the comments a few times that we do have this recorded. It'll go on our YouTube channel. We'll be able to share it with attendees after the fact. But Jeff, would love to turn it over to you for any final comments from the Ohio Innovation Exchange.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thanks everyone to all the panelists and all the attendees today. I just want to emphasize again that Ohio is absolutely on the move. There's just tremendous growth and opportunities, and the university community is responding in kind. It's really neat to see how industry is engaged and how universities are creating opportunities for industry to engage even more. And we hope to continue this conversation. Watch for an email from me with links to the video and slide decks from today. And thanks again.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you joining us today. Again, as Jeff mentioned, Jeff, thank you to you and your team for helping put these on, and to all of our speakers and panelists and also the attendees. It's so awesome to see friends and new names from across the state and beyond. So hope you have a great day, everyone, and hope to see and talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.